Hi, everybody. It's Nikki and Joanne as two dietitians confessing today, and we want to help you figure out what's for dinner. And a big part of what's for dinner is being prepared, right? And sometimes life gets crazy and you're not prepared. But if the majority of the time you can kind of have a better idea, that's fantastic. But we want to be able to help you figure out how to be prepared. So one of my favorite things, Joanne, is I like to pair my supper around a protein. So I always think about what we're going to have as a protein and then build from there. How about you? What do you think about? What's your first thing you're looking at?
Well, I think the same thing too. When I'm planning a meal, I definitely start with the protein first, and again, add your vegetables and your starch around that. I always like to look at take an assessment, evaluate what's in your freezer, what's what you have on hand,
Yes.
and also looking forward to what other kinds of meals you could make with the leftovers. And so I do that too, Nikki, pretty much very consistently.
Right. And
I think another
go ahead.
so I think really overall is, to actually have a plan. I mean, what's for dinner? I mean, I think the first thing is, I think to plan a weekly plan where, you plan your meals around your activity and your family. Because you know that if on Wednesday nights you have to be out of the house like at 6 p.m. and you only have 30 minutes for dinner, maybe you're going to throw something in a crock pot that morning, you
Right.
know, or
Well,
maybe
and I know that I've taught people that for years. And here's a confession. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at preparing and getting my head around my meals for the next week. I should get better at that, especially with how expensive groceries are. Groceries are terribly expensive, and so wanting to make sure that we're not wasting and we can utilize it more. But even if groceries are expensive, it's still cheaper to eat at home than it is to eat out.
absolutely and healthier. You can
Yeah,
feed families so much healthier by cooking at
absolutely.
home. And it doesn't have to be elaborate meals, simple meals, like we just said, a protein, vegetable, and a starch.
And yes,
Just think that way.
exactly.
And some
Right.
fruit maybe for a little dessert.
Right. And one of the things that I like to do with the fruit thing is I make sure I just cut it up. If I cut it up, people will eat it. If I leave it in the fridge and I don't, it's not eaten as well. And so, but also making sure I have the vegetable. And when I look at it, I feel like the two big pieces are my protein and my vegetable. And then I sometimes
Yes,
throw a starch in there, whether that's I have this here, this rice. We love this little, and it's a
I do too.
shortcut
I've
too.
I've I've eaten that too. I like those.
Yeah,
Yes,
and they're so easy. It's like 90 seconds in the microwave. I just gotta open this little side up, but it's quinoa and brown rice. And yeah, I should make my quinoa from scratch. And I know, Joanne, you do that, and then you make
I do
extra
too.
and freeze it. But
I do
I
that.
don't do
Make
that.
extra and freeze it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
I'm
what.
not gonna do that. And so this is my way to be able to still get
Mhm.
the good stuff without. So, um, it's varying degrees of what you're willing to do for prep and all of that. But I know, Joanne, you love to make some sweet potatoes or other types of
I do.
starch.
Yes, quinoa and rice, brown rice, basmati rice. Those are all all our favorites. And we have some kind of potato starch at every meal, pretty much for us.
Mhm.
For example, a couple nights ago, roasted a chicken, just throw
Oh
the chicken
yeah.
in the oven,
I love
hour
those.
later, it's done. Pretty
Yeah.
simple. And then just had some basmati rice and add some vegetables with that.
Mhm.
Was so simple. And then last that I boil the bones right away. That's what I do with
For
every
sure.
chicken I ever roast or rotisserie chicken. I boil those bones and then I make a big pot of soup. And then that's what I had last night, like a real hearty chicken soup.
Oh, I suppose
Like
you put all
I,
that rice you had or
all the
vegetables.
leftovers, yep, all the leftovers from the night before. I just threw
Oh
that
my
in the pot
gosh.
with the chicken, and in like 30 minutes, I had this big
I
soup.
love that. I love that. I didn't know they
Uh-huh.
make soup in Arizona, but apparently they do in the summer
I
even.
Yeah, we eat it. Yeah, we
I know
I
that
make
we
a lot of
eat
homemade
that.
soup.
Right. The other thing that I was going to say too is that I remember working when I worked outside the home and working in the hospital, I would always get those little glass like Pyrex containers. I make a little extra protein for supper. And that was basically my staple to bring to lunch to save money and also to know that I had something to count on for my meal. So I would have half of that be protein and the other half was vegetables. And then oftentimes I'd grab a piece of fruit or a thing of yogurt or something to go with it. And that was my lunch. But that worked great too. And so making a little extra protein, whether you're bringing it to work or
Yep.
using it for the next day, like you did with your soup, I mean, there are ways to be able to figure out that dinner and just really focusing on what that healthy protein source is, adding in those vegetables, getting a little bit of a starch, and then throwing in a fruit every once in a while if you want that. And
Yes.
definitely the way to go as a healthier option and also to help you with your finances and
I
income.
do have a confession
Ooh, she's
though.
got a
I
confession. I like
usually
these.
have, I usually have soup. I usually have fruit for my dessert.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sure.
confession, last night I was really had the sugar attack hit me
Oh,
and chocolate, more chocolate than sugar. And
yeah.
I was kind of dreaming about chocolate chip cookies. So
Oh,
I gave in to the craving and I made these gluten-free cookies with, but I make it with oat flour instead of the white processed gluten-free flour and
sure.
almond flour
Mhm.
and dark chocolate chips.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so that's so yes, I know fruit is usually, but I had my little treat last night and I enjoyed it without guilt, to be
Well, I
honest.
do know that you were also watching a movie last night. And so, I mean, a special treat sometimes just goes with a movie. So it seems like a nice compliment, right? And look at even
That was
Joanne.
perfect compliment. Yes.
You guys, this is Joanne, the way she's been ever since I've known her. Like, here she's talking about having a cookie with all this healthy flour and dark chocolate and all of that. As the
Yeah.
rest of us are like, I'm gonna eat the regular one, whatever. And so I just love that so much. But did you make extra and put it in your freezer, or then you can,
Did. They're in the
yep,
freezer. I put them in the freezer a little more out of sight, out of mind,
there
too, to
you
be
go.
honest.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. You gotta have a treat every once in a while. I
you
mean,
do.
that's just the way it is.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Honestly.
That's right. Well, we're going to be tackling dinner and tackling some shortcuts and helping you with some different ideas as we continue the conversation. So until next time, guys, thanks
Okay.
for hanging out with us as we confess today. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.